Rebecca and Charlie's first shared scene in Landman Season 2 is one of those moments that feels deceptively simple on the surface, but quietly does a lot of heavy lifting beneath it. It isn't flashy, romantic, or overtly dramatic, and that's exactly why it stands out. For Burnet and Wallace, the larger forces shaping the power dynamics of the show, this scene isn't just character reintroduction. It's a signal, a curious one, and possibly a warning. What makes the scene immediately notable is its restraint. Landman doesn't rush to define what Rebecca and Charlie are to each other. There's no clear label, no emotional declaration, no obvious agenda spelled out in dialogue. Instead, the tension lives in what isn't said. Their interaction feels measured, almost cautious, as if both characters are aware they're being observed, not necessarily by people in the room, but by the system they operate within. That awareness is what should concern Burnet and Wallace the most. Rebecca, in particular, comes into the scene with a new kind of confidence. It's not loud or performative, but it's deliberate. She's no longer reacting to the chaos around her the way she did previously. She's assessing, calculating. When she speaks, she chooses her words carefully, and when she listens, she's clearly extracting information rather than just responding emotionally. For Burnet and Wallace, that shift matters because Rebecca has always been more dangerous when she's quiet. Charlie, on the other hand, plays the moment with a subtle looseness that feels intentional. He doesn't dominate the scene, but he doesn't shrink from it either. There's an ease to how he engages Rebecca, suggesting familiarity without ownership. That balance is important. It hints at trust, but not dependency. From a power perspective, that makes him unpredictable. Burnet and Wallace are used to leverage. People who need something, want something, or fear losing something. Charlie, in this moment, doesn't clearly broadcast any of that. What's curious is how the scene positions them as equals without explicitly saying so. There's no hierarchy established, no mentor-student dynamic, no obvious imbalance. They exchange looks, not instructions. They trade observations, not orders. In Landman, equality is rare, and when it appears, it usually signals a partnership that could disrupt existing structures. Burnet and Wallace thrive on imbalance. Anything that flattens the playing field is a potential problem. The timing of the scene also matters. This interaction happens when M-Tex is already unstable, when alliances are fragile, and when every conversation feels like it could tip something over. Introducing Rebecca and Charlie together at this point isn't accidental. The show wants the audience, and by extension, Burnet and Wallace, to clock that these two are entering the story as a unit, even if they aren't officially aligned yet. Potential energy is being established. Another layer that makes the scene curious is how it avoids emotional payoff. There's chemistry, but it's muted. There's history, but it's undefined. The show resists the temptation to make this moment about romance or conflict. Instead, it treats it like reconnaissance. Two people feeling each other out, testing boundaries, checking for alignment. That kind of interaction suggests future coordination rather than immediate resolution. For Burnet and Wallace, this should raise red flags because coordination without visibility is the most dangerous kind. They don't know what Rebecca and Charlie want yet. They don't know how far their interests overlap. And they don't know who benefits if they start moving together. In corporate and political ecosystems like the one Landman depicts, uncertainty is often more threatening than open opposition. Rebecca's body language throughout the scene reinforces this ambiguity. She isn't defensive, but she isn't inviting either. She holds eye contact just long enough to assert presence, then pulls back. It's the behavior of someone who understands leverage and prefers to keep it unspoken. Burnet and Wallace have dealt with players like this before, and it rarely ends cleanly. Charlie's role complicates things further. He doesn't push Rebecca, but he also doesn't retreat. That steadiness suggests he's comfortable operating in gray areas. He doesn't need clarity immediately, which implies patience and long-term thinking. Those traits are dangerous in a world built on urgency and pressure. Burnet and Wallace rely on forcing people into quick decisions. Charlie feels like someone who waits. What really makes the scene feel like a warning shot is how it contrasts with other Season 2 introductions. Many characters re-enter the story under stress, scrambling to survive shifting power structures. Rebecca and Charlie don't. They arrive calm, observant, and emotionally contained. That difference signals agency. They're not being dragged back into the story. They're stepping into it. The scene also subtly reframes Rebecca's narrative position. Previously, she was often defined by proximity, who she was aligned with, who she opposed, who she responded to. In this moment, she's self-directed. Charlie doesn't define her, and she doesn't define him. That mutual independence makes any future alignment feel chosen rather than necessary. Chosen alliances are always stronger. For Burnet and Wallace, the curiosity lies in not knowing whether this scene represents the beginning of something cooperative or the setup for parallel agendas that occasionally intersect. Both options are destabilizing. Cooperation could consolidate influence. Parallel agendas could create unpredictable interference. Either way, control becomes harder. The brilliance of the scene is that it doesn't demand attention, it earns it retroactively. On first watch, it feels like a character beat. On reflection, it feels like positioning. Landman is signaling that Rebecca and Charlie are about to matter in ways that aren't obvious yet. Burnet and Wallace may not see it immediately, but the audience is being trained to. By keeping the scene understated, the show avoids tipping its hand. There's no villain speech, no dramatic pivot. Just two people acknowledging each other at exactly the moment when acknowledgement itself becomes meaningful. That's what makes it curious and potentially dangerous. Rebecca and Charlie's first season 2 scene isn't about what happens in it. It's about what it allows to happen next. And if Burnet and Wallace are paying attention, they should be far more uneasy than they appear.